Welcome to webinar number 5. Officially, this is all about Google Drive. This is the basics class. We'll be having an intermediate version of this class next year, and then the third year of the panel will be an advanced class. Google Drive is basically cloud-based storage, so it means you can access your files and folders anywhere, as long as you have a computer. You don't have to have internet access even to access your files. You can access them offline and work on them, and they'll just update the next time you're logged into a Wi-Fi or an internet connection, so you're not going to lose anything. And I wanted to show you how to get to it. So right now I'm just in my regular Google account page, and the reason I come here is because I want to show you the section here that's, there's my little red circle. These 9 squares, sort of looks like a Rubik's Cube. If you hover over it, it'll say Google Apps. And clicking on that shows all the different software programs you can get to. And there's Drive. That's the one we're going to be talking about today. And these are all just icons. You can move them around. So say if you use Drive a lot and you always want it in your left top position, you could put it there. If you don't use it very much and you want to put it way down below, you can. I personally like having it here in third position, but just let you know you can reposition any of these icons for whatever is suitable to you. So basically, the best way to get to Google Drive is to go to that Google Apps 9 squares and then just click Drive once. So yeah, if you're just starting out in, you have a brand new either Gmail account or an area account through our G Suite account, your file, your drive, I should say your drive, will be blank. It'll just have this one document in there called Getting Started. And if you're like me, I never read it. I never read it at all until just a few days ago when I had to study for this webinar. And when I did read it, I felt it was very sort of intermediate to advanced level stuff in there. So I'm not going to focus so much on this, what's in this document, until those intermediate and advanced classes, since we're just doing the basics in this class. But you'll probably recognize that document in there. So let's take a look around in this kind of home page of Drive. Down here you have storage, and it tells you how much you have of your storage already used up. Mine, it says 30.5 megabytes of 30 gigabytes used. If you have just a regular Gmail personal account, you'll probably just have 15 gigabytes to start out with. Since we have an area G Suite kind of fancy account, we get 30 gigabytes for every account. And this should be plenty. I would say if you ever need to upgrade storage, this would take you to payment plans. So if you have an area account and you're running out of space, let me know, because you don't want to have to start paying extra personally. But I know I'm using about half my storage right now, and I've still got lots of room. So hopefully you'll have lots of room too. This is your trash. Obviously, this is where you go when you've removed items that you want to eventually delete. It's a 2-step process. They'll eventually go into the trash first and hang out there till you're ready to trash them. There's a section here called Starred, and we're going to actually star some folders. But this says add stars to things that you want to easily find later. So we'll be going through that. Recent, there's the Google Drive document that I was just looking at. And I got another document in there as well, because I was just doing a test run before this webinar. But the other thing in here is a CMA list, which if you have an area account, you're probably going to have a CMA or maybe a couple CMA lists in there already that were shared with you from our area secretary. And you'll probably have this little thumbnail for the first webinar I did about the area account. And you might have other documents in here that other people have shared with you But you might at least have these two, CMA and that webinar in there. And then, of course, our regular drive. We're going to start out by creating some files, and we're going to load up some files and folders. So I'm going to go to this new button here, and I'm going to click New Google Doc, and it's going to start me out with a blank Google Doc. And I'm just going to call this one Task Force Document. I know it might be kind of small type, but it's just to give it a name. So I'm going to do my little one click up here to name the file based on my first line, which is a nice little quick, easy tip for naming a file. And I'm going to close it. And there it is, Task Force Document. And I'm going to create a Google Sheet just to show you how these different icons look and these different files look in here. And I'm going to say this is, there we go, the computer's a little slow. I'm just going to name that as name. And for this one, I'm going to call it Task Sheet, Task Force Sheet. And I'll click out, and it takes the name, and I'll close that. Changes you may not be saved. Hold on. That's weird. Maybe I need to give it a second for it to save, because it saves automatically. It says all changes saved in Drive. So we'll save that, and there it is, Task Force Sheet. And we're going to do a slide presentation just to show you what that looks like. And I'm going to click into this. There we go. Task Force, cause slideshow. And name it by doing the one click up there, click out. So it takes it. Hello. There we go. It's a little slow. I don't know if it's because I'm doing the video conferencing on there. But okay, there we go. Now I can see the name up here before I close out of it. All right. Let's say, though, if we have files from our regular hard drive that we want to import into this drive folder, or drive, it's our hard drive, sort of, on the cloud. So let me go to New, and I'm going to go to File, Upload. And I'm going to grab my file, since I'm on a Chromebook, I'm grabbing it from a USB drive. But if you had just your regular hard drive up, you could drag and drop folders over. In this case, I'm going to grab this one Word document, and I'm going to hit Open. So I just clicked on that Word document once, and it starts uploading as soon as I hit Open. And then it tells me it's complete. It's got a little green check mark here if I hover away from it. And then if the magnifying glass, which will let me locate it. It says Locate in my drive right there. But obviously we can see it right here that it's uploaded. And I'm going to go get some more of those files. So let me go to, because I want to upload, the reason I'm doing this is I want to upload some PowerPoint, Microsoft files, like an Excel file. So I'm just holding down my Control key, and I'm going to grab this image as well. So when I hold my Control key and I can select multiple files at once, and I can even skip a file. And I'm going to hit Open. And really, it's not really opening the documents, but it's uploading all of them, which is kind of nice. And it shows us how much time is left. And when it finishes, I'll have 3 green check marks. And I'll know it's done, so I can hit Close. And so I wanted to show you that how the documents look a little different with these icons. Because you can see here that the blue, this is a Word document. So it's a Microsoft Word document. And then we have the blue over here. And the difference between these is this is a Google document. So the Word document has a W inside of it, that little icon. And the text document for Google Docs sort of has just like stripes on it. And since I don't have Word installed in this Chromebook, it only shows me a preview. So I can't really make changes to it. It's just preview mode only. But if I wanted to, it gives me an option to convert it into opening with Google Docs. And for most Microsoft product stuff like PowerPoint. It can open up into a slideshow. It gives you an option to open it up in a Google product. So talking about PowerPoint, this is the icon for, it's got a P if it's the actual Microsoft file. But if it's a Google slideshow, it's going to look sort of like an image of one slide. And then we have our sheets over here, our spreadsheets. The Microsoft version has an X in there, which I guess is sort of Excel. And then the task force sheet, the Google Sheet version, is like a row and a column in there. And a PDF is, let me see if I can zoom in here. It actually says the letters PDF in the icon. Let me scroll out or zoom out. And then for an image, you're going to have this little, looks like a mountain image. And the other reason I bring this up too is because I'm in grid view, which shows thumbnail versions of all these, which is kind of nice. If you prefer list view, there's this little button to change it to list view. And then you can see how the icons are a little more helpful to let you know what kind of a document it is, since you don't have the thumbnail view. I usually prefer list view when I work, but for basics, this basics course, I'm going to stay in grid view so we can use the thumbnails. So let's create a new folder. Let's create a folder called Task Force. Oops. And we'll just hit create. And the icon shows up as like a manila folder. It's gray. I'm going to create another folder because we're going to do things with this folder. We'll call this one Instruction Manual. And you'll notice where it's being placed, it places it in front of the task force because these are sorting alphabetically. So I comes before T. And it does that for the files as well. You have a dividing line, so to speak. There's folders up here, and then your files are always going to be underneath the folders. So the files are sorted by your file name. So A, D, G, M. We can tell they're being sorted here by name. And we could reverse that sort direction if we wanted to go Z through A. If we were trying to find something quick and we knew it started with the Z, we could reverse our sort direction. I typically keep it A through Z. So keep that in mind when you watch the next folder I create. It's going to be images. So it'll put it right in front of the instructions manual folder. There you go, images. And let's do one more folder because I'll show you one of my favorite tips. I'm going to create a folder and I'm going to call it Alateen. And I can double click to get into that folder. And remember how we were uploading files from our hard drive of our personal computer? My tip is if you already know what folder you want to upload a file to, make sure the folder is open, and then go to New and File Upload. And then whatever file you choose, like say we choose a MIAS training opportunity because it's an Alateen document, it'll upload that file directly into this folder. So it kind of saves you a step, which is kind of nice. And a way to get back to your regular drive is just to click here on My Drive. Another nice thing is creating a folder first. Let's call this one webinar number 5, which is what we're on now. So we can double click that and we can create all those new, like the documents, the sheets, the slides. If we're in our folder already, we've double clicked our folder to open it. And then we create our new document here. And we'll call this one Google Drive Basics. The nice thing is it'll put it in that folder automatically. So it again saves us a step. Ooh, if I can spell it correctly. Google Drive Basics. Oh my goodness. Okay. I'm going to do my one click up here to have it name that title. And you could actually see right there. I can't let go because I can let go. It shows you, it put it right into that folder already for you. So it's a kind of good file management. So if you ever want to know where your file is, you can click into it like you're going to rename it, and it'll show you the folder it's in. So if I click out, it goes away. So just a little hint there. So easy file management to create your folders first, and then whatever documents you want to load up in there. So to me, it's a very nice tip. All right, so let's show you another way to get back to your drive. You could click on this right here, Drive, or even the icon to get back to your regular Drive screen. And I'm going to show you how to move folders. There's several different ways to move folders. If you're in this little My Drive, it's kind of highlighted blue. There's a little arrow to the left of it, and I'm going to click that, and it shows me all the folders. It doesn't show me the files inside. It's just the folders only. But this is really helpful if you want to move files around and you like the drag and drop method. So let's say we're going to use this getting started, and we're going to put it into the instruction manual. We can put it over here. We can drag and drop it over there. And it'll say what it's done. Getting started has been moved from My Drive to instruction manual. We can also do a drag and drop where we select the file, which again, every time we just click on it once, it kind of highlights it a light blue. And we could drag and drop it here as well. And it shows where it's going to go. It's going to go into our images folder. And we can even select multiple, like say if we want to grab our task force documents, and it tells me it has been moved. So we'll grab our task force documents. We can grab multiple at a time. And we'll grab all three. So I'm holding down the control key again and selecting just by clicking each file once. And we also have the option to select Move To, which is up here in our kind of a menu up here with 3 vertical dots, which is our option for more actions. And there's an option for Move To, and we can select that. And we're going to move these into our task force folder. So I'll click that, and I'm just clicking it once, and then I click the blue move button. I click that once. It says 3 files have been moved from My Drive to task force. And if we want to double check that, we can just double click our task force folder, and there you go. Now, as far as moving stuff out, it's kind of the same way. You have the option of like say if we want to move this back to our regular drive, our task force document, we can move it up here to My Drive, and that'll take it out of the folder. And it'll explain to you down here what it just did, because you have the option to undo for just like a few seconds, and then it'll go away. You also have the option of clicking on an item and dragging it up to My Drive here as well, and that will move it out of the task force folder and into My Drive, which is kind of nice. And we also still have the Move To option on here, the far right with the more actions. And you'll notice these items up here and these down here, they all show up if I am selecting the item and I do a right click. It's all the same options here. So usually I'll do right click because everything's kind of like in a one-stop shop for me. If you are on a Mac, instead of doing right click, you want to do command click. But I'm a big fan of drag and drop, and I'm a fan of right click. So I'm going to do Move To from here, and we'll just say we want it to go back into our drive. So we'll go back one more, and there's My Drive. And I've got to zoom out a little bit so you can see the move button. And there you go, it's been moved out. And we can go back to My Drive here, and you'll see the task force documents are once again outside. But I do want to put them back in the task force folder for another example. So let me do Control, select them. I'm going to drag and drop them. And right now I'm doing the drag and drop method, so it shows a little number 3. If you can see it right there, it turns blue and I put it in the folder. I'm going to let those go, and they've been moved into the folder. Just love drag and drop. One thing I do want to notify you of, all these methods we're using are for my drive. You cannot upload files into shared with me, and you cannot move stuff, like all the moving that we were doing, you cannot move files into shared with me, because shared with me is stuff that other people have already shared with you. So yeah, you can't, it's stuff that, like, none of this is living on your drive. They're not taking up any of your space. Like, these will take up space in your storage down here. You see it's gone up to 34.1 megabytes now. But the stuff on shared with me, that's actually living on the originator, the owner of the documents drive. And you're just sort of seeing, invited to see a copy of it. So if they deleted it from theirs, it would go away from yours. But you're not able to move stuff into this document or into this part of your drive. Only other people can move stuff in there. I want to talk now about changing colors of folders. I love doing this as a way to organize stuff. Let's say the Alateen folder. I'm going to right click to get my little options here. And there's a little artist palette looking icon that says change color. And since Alateen is usually associated with red, like a red triangle for a logo for Alateen, I'm going to choose a red color for that folder. And it just helps visually. Say images, I'm going to go to more actions up here and select the same icon. And I'll just choose purple for that one. You can only change colors on the folders. You cannot change folder colors of the files, like these icons here. Those are going to stay these blue colors for text documents, and orange for PowerPoint, and green for spreadsheets. So you can only change the colors of the folders. Oh, also I wanted to mention too that you could move folders into folders. So say if we wanted to have our task force see these bunch of images in this folder, we could move a folder into a folder. And then you'll see a task force over here on the left. We'll see a nested folder down here. So that's kind of nice. If you have a really important folder or a really important file, this is where you can star them. And you can go up to here into your more actions and hit add star. And you'll see star added to one folder down here. But you'll see the folder didn't move anywhere. It's just available in two spots now. Because if we go to starred, let's star one more document. Let's say we're going to star this one using right click. We'll say add star. So now if we go to starred, that file and the folder, say if they're very important documents and we have a whole bunch of stuff on our drive, only those two things will show up in our starred section. So it's a super quick, fast way to find something. And say if you are done with the document and it's no longer a hot item, you can also do right click on it and then choose remove star. And I do want to show you something under my drive. Let's say we'll add that star back in using more actions up here. You can't see the star in this layout, but if you go to list view, you can see the star. It's right by the folder there, and it's by the file name here. So that's just something, another reason why I like to use list view. But we'll go back to grid view. So I love the star stuff. Another important thing, if you have an important, like say task force is maybe something that I go into a whole bunch of times, I can rename this by right clicking and choosing rename, and then put a number 1 before the title, because that will move it way to the front, what I call first position, because even though it's sorting alphabetically, it technically sorts by numbers first and then alphabetical. And you can do this as well with files. So say if we wanted this miscellaneous expense report to be always at the top, we're going to choose rename. I can give that a number 1, and you can give other, number 2, number 3, whatever documents are really important to you. So they'll always be in those positions. And again, if you're in list view, it'll be a folder always at the top. And then your file, after all your folders are done, your important files, it'll be listed like 1, 2, 3, regardless of whether the name of the file starts with a Z. It'll be sorting by numbers first. So we'll go back to grid view. Let's talk about deleting or removing folders. It's sort of a multi-step process. So let's say we want to delete or remove this miscellaneous expense report. We can drag and drop it right into the trash over here till it highlights blue in the trash. Then it says removed one file. Or we could click on an item and we can choose the trash button up here. Or from a right click, we can choose trash as the option at the very bottom of this list. So we'll hit remove there. And let's say we'll remove a folder as well. So we'll remove that. So the trash, let's go look at our trash now. And we've got 2 files in a folder. It's sorted now by last modified by me, but we can also change these to sort by name. And my tip is don't trash anything unless you really know you'll never need it again, because even though it's cloud-based, if we hit this little right arrow and say empty trash, we get this message that says all files and folders in your trash are about to be permanently deleted. It says, warning, you cannot undo this action. So you want to be really careful before you delete anything because you can't get it back. The other option too is this is a way to delete everything by choosing empty trash here. But you could go and say delete one item. If you select it, you can hit the trash button again and it'll say delete forever. It says, are you sure? Basically, because you can't delete, you can't undo. So we'll say delete forever for that one. Now, if you have something where you want, you didn't mean to put in the trash and you want to restore it, that's what this button comes in handy. It's like a little reverse the clock kind of button. It says restore from trash. And you can also, while you got the item selected, you could right click and then choose restore, and it'll take it out of the trash and put it back to where it was originally. And there it is. So we restored Alateen and it's back in our drive, which is kind of nice. But yeah, my tip is we have so much storage space that, back in the day when there was limited storage space, we had to keep cleaning our drive. But I think Murphy's Law, I know as soon as I delete a file or folder, then that's probably the next day I'm going to need it. So I just say leave it in there. You can leave it in there for years and then maybe do a clean out after your position's over before you transition your account. But again, that's up to you how you want to manage your trash. Anyway, so let's take a look now from the bottom to the top. Now that we've had some stuff, we've got something in the trash, our delegate presentation. We've got something in our starred section for important documents. Recent is going to be a whole bunch of stuff because it's anything we've touched, whether we've opened it or not. This was just something we uploaded. We didn't even open it. But it's anything you touched. If you are searching for a document and you don't remember the title or whatever, but it was recent, check this recent section. It's really good. Still only had the 2 things in there shared with me. And then our regular My Drive section. So let's talk now about how to search for something. Because that's always a task when you got a lot more files and folders. There's an option here. If we just click into our search drive, we can do a search and we can, let's say we're going to search for maybe delegate, the word delegate. So I'm just typing in delegate. I'm going to hit the word, hit enter on my computer. And you'll notice it found a CMA and it says there's one additional item in your trash that matches this search. And that's another reason why it's good to keep stuff in the trash, because your search function will even look for stuff in the trash. So I find that helpful because maybe it was something I didn't mean to put in the trash. And when I do this search, I type in a word and I hit enter, I can see why is this coming up? Because I don't remember trashing something that said delegate. And it could be a backstop. I could go in there and find out what it is and maybe restore it. But it did find something also in my shared with me drive. If I click on this document, it shows me down here where this file is living under the shared with me section. These are sometimes called breadcrumbs when it shows you different arrows and where things are nested into different folders. But I think it's funny they're called breadcrumbs. You can kind of find your way back down the trail. So let me show you some other ways to search. I'll clear that out. And let's say I can't remember the name of the file or the folder, but I just know it was a presentation. I'm going to just leave this blank up here, my search drive section blank, and I'm just going to click on presentation. And boom, it found two things. It found this, and it found something in my trash. Because presentation will search for a Google slide presentation, and in the trash, we'll notice there's our PowerPoint presentation. So that's kind of also a nice feature. Just by searching like spreadsheets, it'll check any Excel document or Excel spreadsheet or Google Sheet as well. Like there you go, you can see that. I guess we must have deleted our other Excel one. But it found those two, the task force sheet and the CMA. It's a very easy way to filter, sort of do a filter search. Let me clear the search result by hitting this X here. And I'm going to show you another way to search. There's this downward arrow here, and we can click on that, and we can choose a specific folder. Like, let's say we're going to look into my drive. I'm going to say our drive. We'll select that. Oh, I'm sorry. I want to actually select this right arrow. I'm going to choose my drive Alateen folder. And within the Alateen folder, we want it to find anything with the word Alateen. It better find something in there. There we go. Okay. So it's searching. Obviously, the word Alateen is not in the name of the file. This file name is called the MIAS Training Opportunity. But the word Alateen does appear inside this document, inside this flyer. So that's why it's finding that. So the search is real nice because it searches within folders, but it also searches within documents. The other way to search within a specific folder, let me close that and close that search. We'll get back to our regular drive. We'll click on the icon here. Is to select the folder you want to search in, and we can right click on it, and we will choose search within Alateen, which is the name of the folder. And then we could type in our keyword, and so there it goes. It found the same document. So it's just an easy, maybe easier way doing the search options downward arrow here. You can get really specific. You can get really specific with times it was modified, who it was shared with, who might be the owner of the document. So I think we'll get more into that with the intermediate class. But just want to show you some basic ways to search your drive. Let's talk now about sharing documents. Let's go back to my drive here. And let's say we're going to share webinar number 5 document in here, Google Drive Basics. And I'm going to do right click, and this is the option to share. It's got like a little person with a plus sign on it. And click on that once. And my tip is to go straight over here to the advanced section and click on advanced. And this, because we have more control over our settings, and I wanted to start by showing you how to set the tightest security settings for this document. The first thing we want to do is down here under owner settings, whoever we share this with, we want to make sure that it says prevent editors from changing access and adding new people, which is very restrictive, which is good. That's what we want. We don't want them to add more people. So as soon as we click that, check mark that box, it says you have made changes you need to save. So hit Save Changes. And then the next one down, it says Disable Options to download, print, and copy for commenters and viewers. So we're kind of sharing this document with a person, but we're kind of saying you can look but don't touch, because we don't even want them to print it or download it or copy. And then once we click that, it says you made changes you need to save. We'll hit Save Changes. All right, and here's where we're going to add in their name. And as soon as we click in that, it opens up some other options. And I'm just going to share this with, say, my other test account, test 3. It defaults to an option for editing files directly. So if I left it that way with this little pen or pencil, depending on how you look at it, the person could make any changes they wanted to the document. But since we're setting this for tightest restriction, I only want them to look at the document, not make any edits. I don't even want them to comment. So I'm going to choose just that they can only view it. And as soon as I do that, it turns to just an eyeball. And I'm going to add a message. Click here. That this will be a message the person receives that says, here's the file for your viewing pleasure. And I'm going to choose send a copy to myself. That's another tip. Only because if the person says that they didn't get it in their email, once you have a copy sent to yourself, it'll be in your email and you could always forward it to them that way. You can forward that email to them. So it's easier than having to go through all these steps again. So we'll say send. So we've only shared it with one person. They can only view the final files. And then we're going to say done. And I'm going to go over to my email. So here's what the email looks like. I guess it's got to refresh, even though I just saw it pop up there. Here we go. It says Google Drive Basics. That's the name of the document. And it says invitation to view. And the person on the receiving end could even click on the image here now that our Gmail inbox has changed a little bit. So they have that option. But I'm going to open up the email and show you that this is another option for them to open the file. They could click on here, Google Drive Basics, or open in Docs. And here's the message we typed out. It says, here's the file for your viewing pleasure. And let's say I want to share a whole folder. Like this is a task force folder. All these default to being private to me only until I share them. And for a task force, it's usually a good idea to share the folder with the other members of the task force. So I could either right click on it and choose share on this actual folder, or I could go up here to our menu and say share with the same little icon looking thing. So we'll go to advanced. And before I add in the names this time, I want to talk a little bit about the different settings available. So we talked about the strictest setting. So all I did was I clicked on the word change. Let me go back to where that was. It says private, only you can access. And if you hit change, this is where you can change the different options for security. So it defaults to, right now, to be in the tightest security setting. If you kind of look at it as the bottom is the tightest security setting, and then on up here is the most open, kind of vulnerable setting. And I'll talk a little bit about each. So this one is with just specific people, like how we just set it up, where we just saved it, shared it with one person, and they'll get the link, as you saw in the email, but it has to be whoever you sent it to, like that test account, they have to open that link, or they can only open that link with that test email account. So say if that test person has like a Yahoo address, well, if you didn't share it with their specific Yahoo address, even though they're the same person, they just have two different accounts. It's such a tight restriction that they can only open that file with whatever email address you gave. So in a way, it's sort of like having an analogy is the link to the document is sort of like having an unlisted phone number that you give to a person, or one or two people, and that's it. and you say, okay, you can call me on this unlisted number, but you can only call me from your cell phone. You can't call me from your home phone. So it's a really kind of tight restriction. The next setting up here, anyone at NFA AFG Inc. With the link can access. This is one of our most common settings. It's for sharing within our organization in the area. So if you have an area account that ends with AFG area9.org and you have the link, you can access whatever the file was that was sent over. For example, the CMA lists are usually sent out that way. And using the phone analogy, this is sort of like you've given your unlisted phone number now to kind of a close circle of friends. They'd still have to call in or log in using their AFG Area 9 account. Okay, because you'll see the next one up is it's the same, but they don't need the link. That's the only difference. So they can actually search by like a search term. And I would say this is rarely used within our organization. Usually it's always sent out with the link. So you sort of have to know the unlisted phone number, so to speak. The next one up is even less secure. Anyone with the link can access, no sign-in required. So this is typical for the webinars that are already edited for anonymity. They can be sent out to any Al-Anon member. They do not have to have an area account like these ones. It can be anyone that knows the link, that knows this unlisted phone number, basically. What else is sent out that way? Oh, archives. The stuff in the archives folder is set up this way. So if you know the area website password, you can get into, you don't need to have an area account. You can get into the archives to do research. So it's still like having an unlisted phone number, but now you give it to anybody that asks, whether they're a friend or not. They can have the number or the link. And this one I highly recommend not using. It's public on the web. This means the link can be posted on any website by anybody. There's no restrictions, and it's also a searchable item in search engines. So it's basically like your unlisted phone number has been now posted online for everybody to call, and or it's in telephone books, like if you remember telephone books back in the day. But your number is public, so the link is public, basically. And I would just highly recommend not sharing your document that way. Most of the time, it's either going to be like officers or coordinators that are sharing stuff with everybody in the area. They'll use this, and task forces. They're specific to just a few people. You'll want to use this link. So since we're doing this example with sharing this task force folder, I'm going to hit save. I'm going to leave it on save with specific people. And I'm going to add in, say, somebody outside the organization, because that is okay as long as they have the link. They will need to have a Google account. I just put in an AOL account, one of my old accounts I don't check anymore. And you'll see it'll give me a message to notify me. So we'll say a message saying, there's the folder to work in for our task force. Okay, and we'll say, let's say add one more person on our task force. We'll say test number 3 account. We'll add, I'll do send a copy to myself, and we'll hit send. It says recipient must sign in with a Google account within 14 days to edit. Anyone with this invitation will have access. So you would have to contact this person and say, hey, do you have a Gmail account I can send it to? Otherwise, this person will have to sign into Google within this deadline of 14 days. And we'll say, we're acknowledging that yes, we're sending it to a person that's not on Gmail. And we say, oh, that's okay, because we'll notify the person. This is what the task force members would get. This is the name of the folder, number 1 task force. and it says invitation to collaborate. And then it says, here's the folder to work in for our task force. And they could click on that to get to the folder. They could click on this to get to the folder. The other thing I want to show you, let's go back to the drive. So we've shared this folder now, and the icon has a little person inside the little manila folder, so we know it's a shared folder. And if you share a document with somebody and you go to list view, I'm going to show you you'll get a little picture of little people there. So that shows you automatically, you know that that's a shared folder. You've shared it with somebody. So let me go back to this task force folder, which is really important. You can see it's got a star and it's been shared. Double click to open. And let's say, see, now that you've shared that folder, you can see that all these things have been shared with all those people. So it's a quick way to share a folder. Once you have everything in it, just share a folder with everybody that you want on the task force, and they have access to all the documents as well. But let's say you have a CMA, maybe this might be a CMA sheet that you don't want a particular person to make changes to. You can go into this particular document that I've got selected, the sheet, right click and go to share. And let's go back to advanced. And let's say we don't want test number 3 to make any changes. Let's say we only want them to view this particular document. And it says you've made changes you need to save. So we'll hit save changes. So we'll click done. And then we can see that the folder, we can click on the folder and click share. And we'll click on advanced. And we'll see that this is correct, that this test number 3 person has editing privileges to the folder, which means they can add files to the folder. They can make changes to documents within the folder, except when they get into this one. If we go into task force sheet and we go into share and we go to advanced, you'll see this person test 3 can only view. So that's a nice little feature that you can set different privileges for the files within a folder. If you don't want to give somebody full access to a folder, you can go into the individual files and change their permissions. If you're on your drive and you had something up here called quick access, you notice I don't have it. I removed it just so I could have more space to show the folders and files. So I'm going to add that back in, just go under settings and click on suggestions. And I'll click done. And again, in the intermediate class, we'll get more into the settings feature. Now we just do a refresh. And this might look more like your computer screen or your drive, where you have the thumbnails at the top of recent documents, and then your folders and your files. And that's usually how I have mine set up. So I have a little thumbnail version that you can have whether you're in list view or grid view. So you can, if you're in list view, it's kind of like the best of both worlds. But just want to point that out if you had quick access and a quick access section and wondered where mine went. The last thing I want to show you is if you're ever in a bind, you could click on this button up here, little question mark button that says help. And say if it's like 2 in the morning and you don't want to bother me, you don't want to email me for a question, you can type in like restore file. You can type in whatever you're looking for, like delete and restore files in Google Drive, see what's changed. You can click on any of these topics, and these will be things to help you out that are just related to the Drive software program. So it's kind of nice that little help features there if you ever need it. It's a little easier than going to like google.com and doing a search, because it's all just specific to Drive. So now I almost got it in under the hour. Do you guys have any questions that you want to unmute your mic and ask maybe something I didn't cover? Let's say like you're going back to Google Drive Basics, this document. You can share it even from within the document by hitting this blue share button. It'll bring up the same thing we were just in by right clicking on the file in Google Drive. You still have the share with others, and then click on advanced to name the people you want to share it with. Yeah, and then so say if it's a flyer you just want to send to people in your district, you can include whatever the names are of the people in the districts in your district, and then you can change it to just view, and that'll set that permission for everybody in this list. And if it's a flyer, if these are checked down here, disable options to download, print, and copy, and prevent editor from changing access and adding new people, I'd probably at least uncheck this one so people can download, print, and copy the flyer. Yeah, but you'd want to set it to view only because you don't want them to make any changes to the document. But you can do this as a blanket setting for all these people in your district if you just want to make sure that they can only view it. Yep, and then you just add a message saying, here's the flyer, send out to everybody, send a copy to yourself, and that way it'll come to your email inbox. And that way, after sending it to all these people, because invariably it always happens to me, after I send it to all these people, one person says I didn't get it, and you've got a copy in your inbox yourself. And then you can go to the say if this was the one they said they didn't get, this email, then you could take it and you could forward it directly to them. If you don't like it, it's under settings, and then you gotta scroll down a little bit to suggestions. I think it defaults to being checked, so it shows up for everybody, I believe. Make relevant files handy when you need them in quick access. So you've got to actually uncheck it. And then done. Yeah, and then just do a refresh and it'll go away, and it'll stay away until you reset that setting. Yeah. Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah. Yep, I go to share. And I got to the list by going to change up here. And this is the list of most restrictive, and then all the way up to least restrictive. And ever since I discovered these star things, starring particular folders and documents and using the starred section, that's been a big help in finding stuff in my recent section. That those two things really just, I didn't know about those before doing this webinar, and I've been using them ever since now.